Why do you say that, Father? You aren't afraid, are you?
No, but I respect some of the superstitions of others. Often they are founded in fact.
Broadcasting from our Sanctum Sanctorum in Venice, California. I'm Krista.
I'm Olivier.
And we are the Sixth Sense Society. Welcome to another episode of the Sixth Sense Society. Tonight we are really thrilled to have the owner of Mystic Journey Bookstore and Mystic Journey Crystal Gallery and Events, Jeff Segal. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you both?
We are good.
Very good.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you for coming.
Welcome.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And he's going to tell us everything about himself and his journey with crystals tonight. But first, Michael has a few announcements.
Hi, gang. I'm really looking forward to the show tonight. I think it's going to be awesome. Just a couple real quick things. Next week, we have a show on fate versus free will. So if you want to tune in for that, we can debate which one is more important and which one is running our lives most of the time. And then a quick shout out to our friend David Oman. He's having his final ghost hunt of the summer at his place at the Oman House up in the Benedict Canyon in the Hollywood Hills. And that's going to be on August the 8th through the 9th. He'll start on the evening of the 8th and end on the early morning of the 9th. And as you guys know, they're regulars. His home is about 200 feet from where the Manson family did in Sharon Tate and all those people, and it is the 50th anniversary of it. And so he's doing it at the exact time that happened. So he's going to have ghost hunters there, and apparently TMZ may be there and all kinds of things. So it should be quite an interesting event. And Chris and I will be there for sure. We'll do a few tarot readings for people, and there'll be a seance, and there'll be all kinds of cool things happening. So if you want to get some tickets and come join him, I think there's a few left. And the website is theomanhouse.com, O-M-A-N, theomanhouse.com. Other than that, I'm going to kick it over to you guys, and I'm fascinated to learn more about crystals, so I've been really looking forward to this show, and I know that Jeff is just an absolute expert in this field, so I can't wait to hear all that he has to say. So have a great show, guys, and we'll catch up with you at the end.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. So before we get started on our topic, tell us a little bit about your own journey, your spiritual journey to this point in life.
Wow, it's a big question. So I started, I don't know, 35 years ago as a lawyer after I came out of college, and had been wanting to get out of that career. It's a little stressful, and I wanted out so bad that I actually gave myself cancer. I believe that I gave myself cancer in order to push me out, and it really began my journey to delve even more deeply to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, which is a question that so many people ask. And ultimately, I came down to, what am I passionate about? And at that time, and still now, my deepest passion is about spirituality and where we come from and what, meaning of life and all of those kind of things. And so in doing that, I realized that in Los Angeles, we had no spiritual hub, no even spiritual bookstore on the west side of town. And so I decided to open Mystic Journey Bookstore in 2008.
And that was a difficult time, too.
It was right. I mean, fall of 2008
Yeah.
was the beginning of the downturn. But like everything in life, everything's synchronistic and there are no accidents. So it was really the time, more than any other time, when people needed exactly what we were bringing to the community.
Sure, absolutely. So then you later on, after you've been doing the bookstore for a while, you later on opened another store, and that was not too long ago, the one Crystal Gallery and also the event place, and that was because of the landlord of the current one. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we had been on Abbot Kinney Boulevard, in Venice we were there for about 5 years, and then we moved to a larger location, and it was really at that time, through that whole transition that, we started with some crystals in the store, and my interest began to grow and grow, and we'll talk more about, my journey with the crystals and how I began to meet people, but really what was starting to drive me was my interest in large crystals and geodes and learning more about them and really everything about where crystals come from. And then I wasn't looking to open a second location. I had actually decided not to open a second bookstore in Pasadena, which I had been looking to do for many years. But all of a sudden, my landlord from the Abbot-Kinney location came to me and said, I have this location, it might be good for big crystals. And so I was like, okay. And it's really interesting because it was, it was sitting in my mind for years to have larger crystals. And I mean, that's how things work. That's how we manifest. It's in the mind, and you picture that, and then boom, it just sort of, it happened. And we opened on Lincoln Boulevard at 1702 Lincoln in June of 2017.
And why did you choose crystals, actually?
Why did I choose crystals?
Yeah, what attracted you to this?
Great question. So, well, it's interesting. In opening the gallery, I'm not a hoarder kind. I don't hold on to things, but I actually found my rock collection from when I was like 8 years old.
Wow, that's amazing.
So and I remembered having like a tumbler for little stones. And what also is interesting is for my astrologically, I'm a triple Capricorn, which is heavy earth, right?
Yes.
And we got the new moon in Capricorn tomorrow, I think.
Oh, wonderful. Good. I like to hear that. And so it was there. And then as I moved out of law and was opening the bookstore, I mean, I wanted to have some crystals. It was just sort of part of the makeup, and it was in me. But the real growth has come, I mean, it's a strange word. Organically, it's just sort of grown with me over time, but also the public's interest in crystals has grown in the 10, 11 years that we've been open. So it's been, again, synchronistic and together.
Wow, that's crazy.
In her book, I love this writer, Encyclopedia of Crystals, Judy Hall writes that, quote, crystal potency has been recognized for years, and crystals have the ability to adorn, to heal, to divine, to protect, to manifest, and to transmute and transform energy. So do you agree with all of that or some of that?
Well, I think the potential is there for all of that. I mean, it depends on the individual person. I mean, to further answer your question, I also, in my transition out of law and through my cancer, I went through alternative natural healing. They had, the doctors had wanted me to have chemo, and I didn't do that, and I chose another path. And part of that, I put together a team of healers, and part of that healing involved crystals. And so, it's easy to talk about it as somebody who, who's been experienced it. But what I can say is during part of that crystal healing, the healer that was working with me, she would have me stand and I would close my eyes and I could actually feel my body vibrate.
Because of the crystal.
Yeah, well, as she was doing her healing. And I know, I mean, my eyes were closed, but I know the wand she was using, the crystal wand. So I have personal experience of A, its effects, and B, look, there's all sorts of reasons why the abnormality that they found that they wanted me to have chemo, I mean, it went away. It just went away.
And you're very receptive to this. I guess
Yes.
That's what it is. Some people must be more receptive than others, I would say.
I think that's true, and that's why I think different types of crystal healing modalities and some of these words that Judy Hall used may resonate more with some people more than others. It just sort of varies. But I think a lot of my spiritual background and the training that I had been given opened me up to A, allowing it to happen, and B, working with the energies to help manifest the evaporation of the abnormality.
So I wanted to ask you, if we can start with that, how are crystals formed, actually?
Well, crystals were formed millions and millions of years ago. And it's really a combination of volcanic activity, certain minerals that exist in the earth, heat and pressure. And for example, like the geodes that people see, the big amethyst geodes. So basically, in a nutshell, what has happened is there was a volcanic eruption millions of years ago, and from the lava and the minerals, they seep down into the earth. And then millions of years later, and they formed it in certain places, air pockets. Okay, and so that was sort of like a circle, and that's what ultimately would become the geode. Millions of years later, there would be another volcanic eruption, and more minerals would seep down, and some would seep into the air pocket and really plant the seeds that would ultimately form the crystals. Then over time, the heat and the pressure from deep inside the earth would along with hydrothermic vapor, would cause the crystals to start growing.
So are they basically found in like caves or because of the pocket?
So it depends on the type of crystal that you're dealing. For example, with amethyst, they are only in one layer of the earth. There's no, when you go to these mines, or when I've been to these mines, wherever, and they aren't in a lot of places of the world actually, and I'll talk about that in a second, but all of these mines are horizontal. They don't go down vertically at all. And so they just go in. And most, if not all, of the amethyst mines are found in Brazil and Uruguay, in a very specific part of the world, because this is where the minerals that formed that crystal are found.
Yeah.
There are.
I was going to ask you about amethyst. Actually, I'd heard that there isn't as much amethyst because people buy that one a lot. Is that actually true, or is it more new mines that need to be discovered?
So my answer to that question is that's not true. What has happened is, and because I've been doing this now and working closely with the the mine rights owners and the workshops in South America where it comes from, is that the availability of the crystal to the public and to retailers like me, it ebbs and flows. There was a time, I don't know, 6+ years ago, where the Chinese came in and they were buying a lot of amethyst, and so the supply dropped. The general supply in the world dropped, not because they were running out of mineral, the amethyst, but because it was being bought up in large quantities. Then there was like a political thing in China where the government started to crack down on these people because they weren't declaring all of the things they were getting, and there were all these money issues. So then they stopped buying, and suddenly the supply came back up. Recently, the people who had come out of the amethyst business are starting to get back in and buy a little more, so now the supply is dropping again. But this is just supply and demand stuff. I know that from one of the mineral rights owners that I know in Uruguay, he owns the rights to 22 mines.
Whoa.
But he can only mine 2 of them right now, because to carve the geode out of the mountain, it takes a special, like an artisan miner. They don't have enough, and I'm going to say guys, because they're all guys. They don't have enough guys to get the geodes out. So it's not that they're not running out of amethyst geodes at all.
That's
But the supply
fascinating.
goes up and down.
So the artisans that do that, how long would it take them to do sort of a sizable geode in terms of getting it out correctly?
So sizable is pretty relative, because there are some that are larger than this room, and then there are others that you would still consider sizable, that weigh hundreds of pounds, or let's say as big as the table. But it will take a number of days for them to actually get in and do all of, for I don't know, one that's a foot or so or 2 across. It's going to take a number of hours to actually get in, because they want to take it out without breaking the geode open. And then, because what they're really going to do is then they're going to take it to the workshop, and they're going to slice it in half or open up one face.
Are there different colors of crystals? When you say amethyst, is that a different color? Is it all like crystally, like clear?
Yes, no, they're a whole spectrum of colors.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one of the other places that I've been to is to Madagascar. And so one of the crystals that comes from Madagascar is called blue celestite. And so these mines are different. They're actually vertical mines. And these are, people ask me a lot of times about, I don't know, people are concerned about how the earth is being treated and how things are coming out. And like in Madagascar, these mines, the shaft is about as big as the table. And they have handholds just in the walls. Just there's no metal or anything, and you have to crawl down. And then it's a little bitty tunnel. You go down a little bit, and then you go horizontally. And when I was down in this mine, this little cave, it's like a little room. The guy, the miner, he was there with a spear, picking the rock to get the geodes out, and they have a bucket and they wheel it up.
Really basic.
Yeah, very basic.
Yeah.
And then I was like, when I was trying to get out, I was like, oh, the handholds were far apart, and they're like, well, we can put you in the bucket and wheel you up. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And so these are blue.
Oh,
they're light blue color, almost like the color of my shirt, actually.
Wow, amazing.
So they come in all, and there's clear clear and white
the
quartz.
famous ones. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've been to caves, I would say.
Yes.
I would guess. And can you describe when you enter your experience with going to a cave and being inside the cave and your sensation, how you feel the energy and what you feel there when you're there?
Yeah, so again, like the amethyst mines are giant. They drive trucks in them, and so it's a completely different feel than the little mines of the blue celestite. And what I find interesting is, you can go in there and actually see the geodes. Because sometimes when they're excavating, I mean, they put in an explosive and they open the mine, and sometimes there's just going to be open geodes, and you can go in and see them still in the mountain. And it's pretty amazing to walk up and feel the energy just coming out of the earth. Yeah, there are places in Brazil too where they have clear white quartz, and they are just in the mountain. I mean, this is just a little excavated, and you can take the full crystal out.
So you feel the energy when you're inside a cave.
Yes.
You can feel. And what about the air? I think I was reading that you need to wear a mask or something because there's no air. Is there a lot of pressure? It's very hot inside. Or
that's not been my experience.
Not...
I do believe that. So a lot of people have heard about the giant.
Yeah, the Nika.
These are the selenite or gypsum things in Mexico.
Yeah.
And in those, yes, you need to, because
that's
you need
the one
to wear
I was
that.
reading about.
Yeah.
It's called Nika Cave, I think.
Yes, exactly.
It's beautiful. It's like a Superman's cave. It's amazing.
Yes, it's amazing.
Wow.
Do you have some personal favorite crystals that you like?
Do I have personal? Well, I could say I like them all, but but one thing is that for everything that we sell, both at Mystic Journey Bookstore and Mystic Journey Crystal Gallery, I personally select every single crystal except the tumbled stones. But really, I see thousands of pieces, and so when I'm selecting, dozens, I mean, it's really a personal feeling that I connect with each one of these crystals, whether they're the bigger geodes or even the smaller clusters. I'm picking them all, so I feel some connection with each one. In terms of a particular type of crystal, it's less about the type of crystal it is, whether it's amethyst or whether it's blue celestite or whether it's carnelian. It's more about the uniqueness and the energy of the one crystal that I'm seeing.
So how do you use a crystal? You use it for healing, but how do you use it? You put it on yourself. You have somebody using it for you. How do you use it?
The answer to that is that there's a myriad of ways that you can use it. I mean, some people want to carry it. Like, let's say you have black stones tend to be for protection, right, and grounding. A lot of people like to, if you have a small one, to just carry it in their pocket or on a necklace somewhere on their body. There are certain stones that are good, let's say, for dreaming. People would like to put that either under their pillow or next to their bed. So and there, certainly for healers, I mean, there's wands. I mean, there's a certain wand shape called a Vogel, and so this is named after a scientist who was named Vogel, and he actually designed this shape and did some scientific testing to show that the electrons that would move through this shape would be energized and come out more powerfully. So, there are different ways.
So does the shape matter for what you're using?
I would say the shape can matter,
and the size as well.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean,
it's too heavy; it might be hard to wield.
You said it. I did.
You know what I found interesting with quartz is they have so many unique looking shapes, and they have very specific names I hadn't realized. Like one I did realize was the record keeper quartz, and the one that has like the mother and the child, I forget what that was called, and I saw that, and I thought that was really kind of interesting because quartz can seem kind of ordinary, but they seem to not be when you really look deeply into them.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes, quartz is, stones, there are certain stones like malachite that I wouldn't call a quartz, but when you get into all of the sort of clear stones that have color to them, they're all based in quartz. And when you have a clear quartz or a white quartz, this is the most pure, basic crystalline structure. And so it allows, at times, clear quartz is known as being good for balancing, because it focuses everything, creates a single point and a balance of the energy that's flowing through there. And so you have different different shapes that can be called different things and do different things, but it's that clear quartz is just such a it's clear. I mean, there's nothing being absorbed in it, right?
Right.
I think I've read this. I don't know if it's true. Is it possible to have crystals manufactured by humans, or is it a fairy tale or something fancy?
No, I mean, so look, we don't really deal in
Like fake crystals.
Well, we don't really deal in fine gemstones, but for sure they're now in Sri Lanka and other countries. They're manufacturing sapphires and rubies and emeralds and things like that. And there are also, I mean, look, there are some. Well, you can even go buy this thing to grow crystals. I mean, you can buy them
glass,
online.
no?
So they're not quite the same.
They're not going to do anything. Just drinking it.
So when people go to buy a crystal, one of the things I've heard advised is to sort of be drawn to whatever you're drawn to and hold it. But what if you want to invest in a big crystal, an expensive one? What would you tell them to look for in a quality and not just a feeling? So we're talking about, the ones that are thousands of dollars and take a little more investment. What would your advice be?
So, well, the thought that first came to my mind is, what should they look for? They should look for me.
The master.
Because, I mean, there certainly is a sense of knowing, having seen so many thousands of crystals, I can actually discern the difference in the quality between the crystals, not only their color, their shape, their uniqueness, all of these things. I mean, to me, all of the crystals, but particularly the large ones, we call them natural art. And just like a painting, I mean, there has to be some emotional attraction.
Connection.
Yeah, exactly. Some emotional connection to it. So I think that's sort of the starting point. Once somebody's at a particular place where they're choosing between, let's say 2 or 3 different ones, then I would start, talking to them about what they're looking for in it, whether there's some energetic qualities, whether there's interior design qualities. I mean, if somebody's really looking to do something, a lot of people are looking to enhance their homes or their businesses, and not only energetically, but in terms of the aesthetic. Right. And so we actually do interior design consultation, and so we work with people to make everything work together.
Oh, that's great. They are really beautiful. It seems like their investment too, because they can go up in value like anything else, and depending on probably the crystal and the size and all of that. What do you think is a crystal? I was wondering that gets overlooked by people that you think is important, that you think, whether it's aesthetically, whether it's the quality, that maybe people don't know much about.
Well, that's an interesting question. So look, a lot of this I think comes from personal, just, again, personal attraction. I think, I think crystals are really good. People always ask, like, what's your favorite color? No, and it's a really important thing, because a lot of crystal energy is related to the color. I mean, the colors are related to chakras, and it can also be related to musical notes. I mean, we actually do at the Lincoln Boulevard Gallery location, we do healing sessions where people put together crystals and sound and color and work them all together. And so I think in terms of overlooked crystals, it is, I like malachite. I mean, I think it's actually more of a stone than a crystal. I think it has amazing beauties. And it also has, it's green, so it's related to the heart chakra, and so some people can find that useful in terms of heart and emotional issues. They can actually, green at times can be related to money issues. So I think that, and people tend to see it polished a lot. We have some that are not polished that I think are incredible pieces. I love carnelian, and it's interesting because these are crystals or stones that are not coming from South America, from other parts of the world. That
I wanted to say about the clear crystal. I think that's a kind of a print of the light in a rock. So it summarizes all the chakras all together, like the rainbow color, like makes the light.
Yes.
I think that's, if somebody wants to align themselves, that's the best to choose. If they want to focus on one particular chakra, they should have the color that matches themselves. So they work on it, and after they can move on and add more and other crystals, and at the end have the the one that's clear, so they align themselves.
Yes, I think it's a really good thing, and again, I think a lot of people, and I think it's good to wear a necklace or something with just a single point, and it keeps balance and alignment.
Also,
and then there's the idea of cleansing your crystal
Yeah,
too,
that's what I'm about to
especially if
say.
you're trying to
Yeah.
use it to heal. Are there some techniques that you would recommend for clearing it once you've been using it for a while?
Yes, I think it's important. I mean, because particularly the darker stones, but all of the stones will absorb energy as time goes on, and it's important to cleanse them. I think there's a few different ways, and it depends a little bit on the particular crystal that or stone that you're working with. Selenite is always a very good cleanser, where you can use a selenite wand to pass over or touch the stone or crystal that you have. Other things you can. You can always, it's a little bit different, but you can always use sage. I mean, sage is a clearing product, so you can always use that. And I think it's good for certain crystals to also give them a bath. And sometimes too, also if it's, you can't do this with every crystal. I mean, there's a crystal called hellite, which if you put any water on it, it's going to dissolve. So you don't want to give that crystal a bath, right? But for other things like a clear quartz, I think to put it in water, even in salt water, because the salt tends to extract things out of it, is a good thing. Another thing that people ask us a lot, and that I wanted to share, is about cleaning crystals, particularly like amethyst and citrine geodes. The best thing to use on those is either baby oil or mineral oil, not water. And so you can just put it on a little rag and dab it on. It'll clean them. It'll make them happier, and it'll make them brilliant. And then leave it on for 5 minutes or so, and then just dab it off. And just cleaning that is always good.
And I've read it as well, like you rinse them under the water, like some of them, and you put them outside in the full moon light, and to recharge them. I don't know if it's true.
Yes, I think so, and I think it's at times, depending on what's going on with the person in the crystal, you can also put it in your garden. It'll help what's happening in the garden. Plus, bringing the crystal back to earth is a good thing.
That wouldn't work on my street. A lot of petty theft.
No. Well, you don't have to put it outside. On the
Might
street.
not stay there. Somebody takes it.
Well, it's just our neighborhood.
My
They like
crystal
to
is
steal your
gone.
flower pots and things like that.
But it's at our Lincoln Gallery location, we put a giant alligator quartz and right on Lincoln Boulevard in front of the store, and
Wow.
it's chained down. But the only thing, but everybody's pretty much left it alone. The only thing that's happened in the year or so that it's been out there is one day somebody decided to put a box over it.
Oh, that's a joke. Yeah,
That's
fun.
kind of odd, actually.
Yeah, but we love having it out there.
So I also am interested in the whole crystal skull phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, I love
So have you met anyone who's like a crystal skull keeper, like of an authentic one? Have you bought any crystal skulls for the gallery?
So it's an interesting question. So first, for the bookstore, I've just so skulls don't resonate with me. Okay, but I realize that I have one of my longest term crystal dealers that I've worked with for many years, and I buy spheres from him. And this gentleman, he's always wanted me to buy skulls. You got to get skulls. He sells a lot of skulls, right?
It's very popular.
So it's very popular. So one year I'm like, his name is Bob. I'm like, Bob, this year I'll try some. I'll get 10 skulls. Okay, just small skulls, and let's see what happens. So I had them, and I see him once a year, and then the next time I'm like, Bob, I sold 2. So it's like no skulls. So it wasn't. And look, it could be me, but it's also the bookstore and I think the vibe at the bookstore. But the gallery, it's very interesting. I guess about 6 months or so ago, we had a famous crystal skull. It was a skull, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact name of it, but it was one of these skulls that was discovered in Mexico, and there's actually a keeper of this skull,
Right.
And it's an amazing crystal clear crystal skull, and they do ceremonies with it and all that. And so we had this event at the gallery, and we had like 100+ people over to be with this skull and kiss the skull and get energy from the skull. And so look, I mean, it's like nothing. It's like, I was gonna say nothing else. It's like everything in life to me is, hey, if this works for you, if this brings you something that's good, and whether it's healing or enlightening or enlivening, that's great.
Well, I actually met a woman in my 90s. I went to different readers, and I was very open to all kinds of styles. And she was a shaman, and she worked with a crystal skull. And she gave me the most fascinating, soulful reading. It wasn't really a prediction. It was more what my soul was seeking. It was really right on. And it's one of those things that, you knew, but you didn't quite consciously knew. So I was just really impressed that she could get that using this. She had her own way of using it, I think. And I don't think it was one of these old crystal skulls, but she programmed it and worked with it. It was clear quartz. And I remember thinking it was just an interesting tool. That was the only time I ever met anybody using it. And I mean, I've heard about people going that. So I got kind of curious about that. The other thing I was kind of interested in is some of the people you meet when you go to the mines. Do you get to know them since you go back? And what kind of characters are there that are involved in this?
Well, this is going back to when I was a lawyer. There was certainly many years where I was like, God, I hate this job. And now, I mean, I love my job. I love what I do. And really, I think my greatest joy in what I do now with both of the stores is with the interaction of the people that I meet. This is, our customers, the people, our readers and our employees, but also all of the crystal dealers that I've met. And you asked me early on, how did I get involved? And really what's happened is maybe a year or two after I opened the bookstore, I started going to the largest, crystal show in the world, which is in Tucson every year. And over the years, I started to develop relationships with the people from South America and all over the world. And this is just one of my characteristics is I'm very loyal. Tucson is crazy. There's 40 shows and you could, it's for 2.5 weeks. You could be there all the time and spend millions of dollars. But I've really sort of geared my approach to developing these relationships with the individual people from different parts of the world. And through doing that, they basically started inviting me to their homes and to take me around all these countries. When I was in Madagascar, I was with, these two sisters who were one of in Madagascar, there's only like 5 or 6 families that deal in stones and crystals. And so I had been working with one of the sisters for many years, and I started talking like, maybe I'll come down. She's like, come. They ended up having me for 2.5 weeks and taking me all over the country, plus to the mines. The same thing in Brazil. So
that's amazing.
Right. And,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and so now my next stop, I'm starting to work on. I've known a family from India for many years, and so I'm hoping that in the next year or two I'll be able to go to India and go to some of those workshops and mines.
So are you like Indiana Jones, like on a quest to find the perfect crystal?
I like the Indiana Jones thing, and all the crystals are perfect.
Really?
Yeah. No. Look, they're.
You always like try to find the perfect one, like the one, and after you're going to find another perfect one.
It reminds me. I get asked all the time at the gallery, "What's your favorite piece?" I get that, and look, my favorite piece shifts. The pieces come and go, and like right now we have this incredible, natural citrine point. It's, yay big, a couple feet tall, and it's incredible color, beautiful clarity. I've like never seen anything like that. So it's a little smaller than some of our giant geodes, but it's outstanding. So, to me, perfect. I don't know. Everything's perfect or nothing's perfect, but, it just sort of depends on the individual crystal again.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the sound bath healings because, that's been on the rise for probably the last decade. It's really popular. And there was a woman that came, I know that Jenny does it regularly at the other crystal gallery, but there was a woman that came in once to the store and did it only once there. And she had amethyst bowls and really some that I never see. And I have to admit, you could really feel, at least I could, different energies when she just did a little sweep. So I'd like you to share your own feelings about sound healing, why you think it's popular, and what are the benefits. I know some for myself, but every sound bath I've gone to from different people has been really remarkable for me. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so my I guess personal philosophy is that everything is vibration, right? If you get down to the smallest, whatever, matter, it's all vibration. It's just vibrating energy. And so when you get into sound healing, you're really, there's nothing, well, I don't know if that's the right word. It's vibration. There's nothing that you can tangibly, physically touch. It's just all vibration. So I think that the sound healing has become very popular. And there was, I mean, I know years ago, I mean, sound healing, there were people who've been doing it for, long time.
Sure.
But I think it's grown as people have become more attuned or more open to the idea of vibrational energy and energy healing generally. And I think with that, the vibrations can go directly, into your body. I mean, you can have somebody can put a crystal on you, and some of that energy will seep in. But this is just straight vibration. So I think it. I'm not saying it always is, but it certainly can be more powerful, and it can be more direct. And then when you combine, I mean, this is what I was saying before, if you combine, because light and color again is non-tangible, but when you combine color and sound together, then it can become even more powerful.
Yeah, it's like music. I mean, or words, that they affect you in a way, and the sound of the crystal balls are like touching you, because it's like a bass guitar. You found the sound, and you hear that and you feel it. How are they made? Actually, the balls, are they like powder or shaped, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are. So, and I was going to talk about the infused bowls that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, I mean, they're crystal bowls, and they're made out of clear or white quartz for the most part, and they're powdered, and then they're formed and shaped, molded into the bowls. What's interesting, and I found this, is when the bowls are made, the manufacturers don't know what they're getting, right? They can't say, I want an A note.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they can't. Possible. And so what happens at times is there's like either a flood of certain notes, or there's a total scarcity of certain notes. And when you talk to the manufacturers, it's like, this is, so let's say there's a lot of throat bowls, right? Throat chakra bowls. They're like, we need this now. This is where the energy needs to be going. Yeah. And so with the amethyst bowls or rose quartz bowls, that they will take some of the powder from that crystal and mix it with the other crystal.
That's amazing. I also read maybe about 10 years ago that they were using ultrasound to shrink certain tumors, and I'm sure they've done more now. So they are using sound in traditional medicine as well. And as you know, of course, sound has been around for a very, very long time. I used to go to a lot of the Tibetan pujas, and they use this. The way they use sound is unbelievable. I mean, it's to be immersed in what they're doing, and they're chanting. And of course, they don't necessarily use the crystal bowls, but the idea of sound and vibration, and that I wanted to ask you a little too about the school you studied, the mystery school you studied with, Boda. Wasn't that part of your training?
It was my training. So they're called Builders of the Additum. They're Rosicrucian Kabbalistic based. I would say non-denominational order that comes out of the Golden Dawn, and I was connected to them through a reader, 30 years ago or something, and they send out weekly lessons, and so from those lessons, I mean, my whole being changed, my whole view of life, and it has given me the tools to, in my view, to create what I've really wanted in my life, and I've done it. I mean, and look, we create everything. I mean, as I said earlier, I created my cancer. I mean, when I went to this organization because I failed the bar exam the first time. Well, I created that, but look at the blessing that came out of it. So it's actually they're worldwide. They're based in Los Angeles. They have a little brick building, but they have Sunday services there. It's based a lot in the tarot.
So do you heal people, or you use crystal? Do you teach people? What do you do?
I'm not a healer.
No.
But I do teach people about crystals and their properties and how they
use them
and how they can be used. But the healing aspect, I leave to others who are
for themselves.
Tied into that more. I wanted to mention one other thing about the sound bath healing.
Yeah.
The woman who does it at our gallery, her name is Jennifer DeVoe. She has this instrument I think it's called an Ethereum, and I guess it's been around a long time. It's the most amazing instrument. It's got like a metal bar that's shaped like an upside down U, and then a plastic, mechanism, and then another U that comes out the side. And I don't know how it works, but it sounds ethereal, like that kind of music. she doesn't touch the instrument, but by moving her hands in and out and up and down, it changes the sound.
Wow.
And it is a total energy-based instrument. It's incredibly wild.
I'll tell you something really funny about that, guys. Jeff was mentioning that. That particular instrument, if you ever hear all those really spooky, weird sound effects and things like Star Trek, that's exactly the instrument they're using to make those.
Oh, wow.
And that they're used a lot in Hollywood.
Ah.
They're very common in Hollywood.
I didn't know that. I wanted to say also, I remember hearing recently on NASA's page, all the planets are recorded, and you can hear the sound of Saturn and different things. So the idea that the cosmos really is making music is true. It's not just a theory or mystical thing. And I think that probably physics more than any other place is catching up with, the metaphysics. They're sort of agreeing with each other a lot more.
Yeah. Are your glasses made of crystal?
Or my glasses, no, they're not made of crystal.
I don't think it would be possible if it has such an energy on the eyes. That would be too much to wear them all the time if it would be made of crystal.
I would think so, and I think my eyes are probably too complicated for it to figure out. It was interesting, going back to the universal sound. I heard one time, and I actually saw some type of a video that did this, so there's the background sound of the universe. And if you take the symbol of an ohm and you manipulate it and turn it around, it's actually the frequency of the background sound of the universe.
Oh, I didn't know that. That ohm is amazing. I have to say, there's so much.
Yeah, and there's something in the Bible, the trumpet of Jericho, with I don't remember the whole story, when they broke up the walls and things.
Mm-hmm.
That's all about sound anyways. I really believe it.
Yeah.
So I was reading somewhere, I forget where, that there are new crystals still being discovered. Is that your experience?
For sure. I mean, because when we were driving through some of these places, I mean, I was talking to the mineralites people, and I mean, they know, particularly like Uruguay is like the least densely populated country in the world, and per square foot, and they know generally where the material, the crystals are located, but they definitely haven't been everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I was, one time when I was in Brazil, I was with some of my friends, and we were walking this path, and they were going to open a new mine, and he's like, "We'll call it Mine to Jeff." So, but on this path too, it was so cool. I don't know if you know, mica is sort of like a thin crystal, and it's very
kind of
shimmery, like flaky.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was walking down this path of mica. The whole path was just shimmering like fish scales. It was
That's very
pretty
magical.
crazy, right?
Yeah. Can crystal have a negative energy on somebody or charge?
Yes, I mean, if it can, it can be used incorrectly and potentially cause some problems. I'm sure that's true. Mm-hmm. And look, you can use your mental energy to do.
But when you find, what I'm asking is, when you find it, is it charged already with the negative energy, or you're just gonna charge it yourself with your negative energy?
Well, I don't believe that the crystals themselves are naturally charged with negative energy. I don't. That doesn't feel right or sound right or anything I've heard. Yeah. So no, I on that account I would say no. I think they're all there really with their own innate internal energy, and they're also ready to be programmed. And I believe people can program the crystals.
Yes, that's what I think too.
I suppose if someone had it in a home where there was some violence or something,
pick up
maybe
on it.
the crystal had been there a long, long time, because like haunted objects, they absorb
get
the
charged
energy,
with it,
perhaps, but
That's what I
maybe
would
not,
think too.
from the natural earth. It seems
Yes.
Mother Nature is pure.
Contradictory.
Yeah.
Counteractive.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for Jeff. Clearly, some of these crystals are like as big as a truck and weigh hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
Yes.
So transporting them has to be a challenge because, again, some of them I imagine are fairly brittle, especially the points and the tips of some of them and so forth. And so is there an expertise in how you transport these? And should someone order one, can they order them online from your store? And will you arrange the transport for some of the bigger ones? And how do they get them from point A to point B?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Michael. So transporting is actually easy for the people who know how to do it, because they really do know how to do it. We just sold a 6,000 pound geo it's like 10 feet tall that's going to Singapore. And so I've been watching as the whole process has been going to pack it and crate it, and all of the pieces. I mean, we're getting a huge new shipment coming from South America, and different parts of the world pack things differently. Some of the countries pack it where they'll put it in a crate and they put wood bars around things and things don't move. Other countries will take like shredded newspaper and just stuff it into the crate so the crystal can't move at all. When we're shipping, and so to answer one of your questions, we ship everywhere. People, if they want to buy, and they can buy online or in the store, we can ship. Like I said, I mean, we ship to Singapore, we ship to China, we ship domestically to New York and Canada. But we have craters who will also crate these up. We've never had any problems, but it's not. I mean, long ago when I first opened the bookstore, I just had one crystal. I mean, it seemed like a fairly good size, crystal, just 1 point. And it was pretty thick, maybe 4 inches across. I'm like, we'll put it in bubble wrap and ship it to wherever it was going. And sure enough, it broke. So this is not something to just, for us to just do ourselves. I mean, we have experts who do this. And it's always been fine. And in terms, and it's interesting too. I mean, so we get some of our crystals come over from South America on American Airlines. Most of the time, we've shipped in via air. This time, we're actually having them come on a boat because we have some larger pieces and they can't fit on the plane. But and again, going out, they can go by boat or by air. And it's all very safe, and figuring out the costing, we do all that as well.
Mm-hmm. Are there any places in America when people can go and have healings, like in caves, and they pay and they go like a session or something?
Well, so
except, visiting the cave.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of any particular cave or mine where they actually have healing sessions in the mine that are set up, like pre-set up. That doesn't mean they don't exist. I just haven't heard of that. I do know there are places in America, particularly like in Arkansas, there's a lot of clear and white quartz comes from Arkansas. That's our main place in America, and so they have places you go. I mean, you could bring a healer with you, and do that. I think there may be some places in South America. I mean, where there's some healers down there who can actually take people out to places there. In America, I think not so much though, but I don't want to profess to say I know everything.
Yeah, it's like a guided healing, I would say. It's not especially with a healer, but it's like it guides you through the experience and the session, I would say.
Yeah, I think there's, I haven't heard of that, but again, I'm not sure that doesn't exist.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Are there some crystals to hold a lot that are a little toxic and you have to be careful? Certain crystals, I mean, just the crystal itself, not that it's a negative
like the
crystal, but the actual minerals in it.
There are a couple of things I've heard, but then, look, this is the kind of thing where I can talk to one person who deals in the particular stone and another person, and you get different answers. I mean, there's a type. So most malachite is polished, right? And so it's fine. There's others that are just rough that have never been really cut or anything. There's another kind called fibrous malachite. Some people think that fibrous malachite is not good to touch if it's flaking like that. But then you can talk to other people because it comes from Africa. So you talk to different people and they're like, nah, it's just like a wives' tale. There may be other stones where somebody may say, well, if you put it under a scientific experiment, there's actually a little bit of radiation in it. But this is like, well, maybe there's a little bit of radiation in everything. So if you were like to bury yourself in this stone, it could be a problem. But, I don't really, that's really all I've heard.
Is it possible to increase your receptivity to a crystal? Because when I have one, I don't really feel anything. I don't sense it. And is it possible to develop that? Or,
the answer to that is yes. I think it's no different than intuition, which is something. I mean, I was a triple Capricorn, so my intuition was not my strongest suit long ago. But I mean, I've worked on that, and I know my intuition is better. I think people can work to open up their sensitivity. And look, I know from my work with the crystals, there aren't a lot that I can walk up to and like, wow, I feel that. I believe there are people who can, but when I was in Brazil this last time with this 6,000-pound geode, and I walked up to this monster, I felt it. Yeah. I felt it, and so from that, it's sort of like faith. I mean, when something happens, you develop the faith, And so now that I've felt that, I think I will work to have that again and be open to that feeling.
Because I'm very intuitive and in tune with like people and things and energies, but this I don't really feel anything.
I would suggest going to a sound bath.
I have,
Because
the dome in
it's
the desert. I
yeah.
don't remember how it's
Yeah.
called, the dome thing. I did it. It was amazing. I love
Yeah.
this. Yeah, the sound. I'm really
Because of
receptive
the
with
music,
it.
yeah.
Because
it
of the vibration.
penetrates.
But just touching it and putting on me.
Yeah.
Just to jump in real quick again, and first of all, I'm sorry if anybody hears construction noise in the background.
don't.
We've had an ongoing issue with getting new doors put on our building, so it's been lots of hacking and sawing and planing. But I haven't heard it, so hopefully you guys won't hear it on the air. I know we're getting closer to the end, and I know that the Mystic Journey, the gallery, and the bookstore are having a crystal sale. So I want to make sure that Jeff had a chance to tell people about that if you're living in the LA area, or I suppose even online, so that give us the details on what that's all about. And this is probably the best time ever to buy a crystal from you.
Well, thanks, Michael. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Yes, we're having our really our first giant crystal sale ever. The crystals are up to 42% off. The crystals that are over $1,000, all of our crystals that are over $1,000 are 42% off. So if you've ever wanted a medium or large size crystal, this is definitely the time. Our crystals that are lower priced are 20. All of them are on sale, at least 15% off. Others are at 25% off. And one of my philosophies about my whole business has been to make crystals affordable. I want the crystals out. I mean, I want to have a successful business, but I've always tried to price my crystals. I've always priced my crystals where I think they're reasonable and affordable. But now, I mean, we're having a lot of new crystals coming in, so we're making room for this new shipment, and it helps us. I mean, it'll help everybody out there to bring these crystals into their home and into their life, and it'll help us to keep evolving and growing. And so you can come. Our stores again are on Abbot Kinney in Venice, 1624 Abbot Kinney Boulevard, and on Lincoln Boulevard in Venice, 1702 Lincoln Boulevard. We're online at mysticjourneycrystals.com, and you can check the crystals out. All of them are there as well, and you can check that out. So thank you again, Michael, and thank you everybody for
And
having
how long
me.
is the sale for?
So the sale, it's a good question. The sale is going to go at least through August 15th.
Okay.
And depending on the timing of the shipment and how things are going, it may continue another week or so.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a time to invest in the larger crystals. That's a wonderful investment. Any last thoughts that you think you want to share about your own journey, advice to people on the path, or anything about crystals?
Yeah, you know what? Take risks. People say a lot of times that life is short, and I don't believe that, but it sure goes by fast. And so, I mean, whatever, if you're looking to do something or you want to change, I mean, that can happen in an instant. I mean, I've lived it, and I like I said, I love what I do. So when you're out there, do whatever you can to find what you love to do. It changes everything.
That's true. Follow your passion. I've read that in so many different types of books, whether spiritual or Lou Holtz, or it leads you forward, even if you don't know where it's going to go. I never would have known I'd be a tarot card reader. I simply followed my interest in metaphysics, and it just happened on its own. So I agree with that. Taking risks, follow your passions, and it's never too late. I think some people think it's too late, they're too old, and I don't agree with that either.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I just, this year I turned 60 years old, and it was just a couple years ago that I opened the gallery, and I'm like, I feel as young as ever and great, and just having fun.
Yeah, time doesn't matter. If you're happy for 10 minutes, it's better than never being happy at all.
Yes, exactly.
And then since we have like about 6.5 minutes left now, I know there are a lot of other things besides crystals at the bookstore, especially that you do, and there's various workshops and things. So can you give us a good feel for Mystic Journey as a whole and what people can expect?
Absolutely. So Mystic Journey Bookstore on Abbot Kinney is really a spiritual hub. I mean, we sell, tarot decks, and we sell yoga materials, and we have incense and statuary, but beyond the products, we have events every day, book signings and workshops, and then we have just a wonderful family of intuitive readers there. And a lot of our readers have been there almost the whole time we've existed. I mean, this is nearly or 10 years. And really, when I first started Mystic Journey, people were like, well, the most challenging thing are going to be the readers. And in fact, that's just absolutely not the case. Our readers, I mean, they wouldn't be with us for nearly 10 years if they weren't fabulous. And so they are a huge part of our family and a huge part of Mystic Journey Bookstore. And so you can, with the readers, you can book them online. You can come into the store. They do, phone readings and Skype readings and in-person readings. And then over at the Crystal Gallery, we have classes going on. We have, yoga classes, meditation classes. We have the sound bath every Friday night at 8 o'clock. Plus, we're doing all sorts of different types of events virtually every week. Different people are coming in and doing workshops. And really, on the Lincoln Boulevard location, we're really putting it out there as a space, an event space that people can rent for doing things. I mean, we've had Tantra workshops, we've had memorial services, we've had wine tastings, we do a whole spectrum of things. And it's an amazing space because you have this very large, beautiful yoga studio that we use. And it's connected adjacent to, with an opening through an Indian door into the Crystal Gallery. So the whole experience in the Lincoln location is very unique and a wonderful place to have an event.
And at Mystic Journey, you can find this beautiful crystal as well.
Yes, I've known Jeff since August of 2010. Michael started a little after me, and it was that transition when the Bodhi tree was closing. And the nice thing about going to Mystic Journey is I can walk to work. I mean, besides other things. So, yeah, we've been there a while and really enjoyed. And it is the space is really beautiful. It's very nicely done.
And the giant crystal, there's one in the front and one in the back. Those are amazing.
Yes.
When I go there, I always touch them. And yeah.
Good. Oh, let me say that. You say that. Actually, at the gallery, and I really want people to know this, I really want to encourage people to touch the crystals. I mean, at the the big crystals, touch them. And when you go into, even the small pieces, both at the bookstore and the gallery, touch the crystals. I mean, feel the energy from them and connect with them.
A lot of places wouldn't let you do that. That's cool. I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
But it's fun just to go and look at them, I have to admit. It's just the energy, and it's just very soothing and very healing. So definitely, I think everyone should see the gallery. And of course, I'm fond of not only the bookstore because I work there, but I love independent bookstores. And I really always hope they'll live forever, because that's the one thing I learned when the Bodhi Tree bookstore closed, is that independent bookstores are a hub for people.
Yeah.
They're a place where people meet and share their love of books. And I think sometimes people forget how important they are to the heart of that community. Yeah. And in Europe, it's so important. Sometimes they'll subsidize the bookstores. And I don't know what it is. You can buy books online, but it's just different going in and picking the books up. And
Definitely.
Let me add one thing about books that people ask. They ask about book sales. And basically for our, 10 plus years of existence at Mystic Journey Bookstore, our book sales have not decreased. They're basically, look, they're not rocketing up by any stretch, but they're nice and steady. I mean, they're nice and steady every month. There's a little variation, but basically people continue, at least in the books that we sell, people are continuing.
It's a fallacy. That's when they say books are not selling anymore. It's always a marketing thing.
Right.
Just go online and buy a notebook or something.
Yes.
it's actually going back up again, evidently. And anyone that reads, I have a Kindle too, but it's more for convenience. And there's something about holding a book, book art,
the pages.
And books are still, they're great value. You can basically buy a paperback book for around $20. $20. And you're going to read a book for days,
Yeah.
And it's almost $20 to go to a movie now, or cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And
So
talking about energy, the fact that you flip the pages and you smell the pages and the ink, that's really something.
Right.
It's a different experience.
And when you read it, it's absorbed into your consciousness.
Exactly.
And you do have a good selection of books about crystals, I noticed.
Yes, it's certainly one of our most popular sections.
Yeah. And that's important because there's so many. It's amazing. And they're also beautiful to look at because often they're divided into colors. Some of them do that for the crystals, the colors. And so I was just looking at them the other day. I think I have, what's that book, the early book that everyone got in the 90s with crystals?
Love is in the Earth.
That's the one I have.
Yes.
Love is in the Earth.
It's a classic. But I would also add, at our bookstore, we have a whole spectrum of books, including children's books, all the different religions and traditions. So come on by and check us out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for watching our show, and like us, subscribe to us. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue to journey exploring the esoteric and the obscure.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Jeff, for being here.
Thank
And
you
thank
again
you.
for having me.
Thanks. Bye.